Please, don't send me home. 5 words. Whispered by an 81-year-old man at 2:47 in the morning. His grip on the nurse's wrist was weak. His body was failing. He weighed less than 130 pounds. But those 5 words would mobilize 312 bikers, expose a murder plot, and bring back to life a man his own daughter had already buried. This is the story of Walter Eugene Crawford. And it begins in a Pennsylvania emergency room on the coldest night of the year. The ambulance had brought him in 20 minutes earlier. 81 years old. Found collapsed on Route 219 in 18-degree weather. Wearing nothing but a thin robe and slippers. Hypothermia. Severe dehydration. Multiple bruises covering his arms and legs. The paramedics said a trucker found him crawling on the shoulder of the highway at 2:15 a.m. 3 miles from the nearest house. 3 miles through snow and ice and the kind of cold that kills old men. Patricia Holloway had been an ER nurse at Mercy General Hospital for 18 years. She'd seen gunshot wounds, car wrecks, overdoses, and the slow destruction of disease. She thought she'd seen everything. She was wrong. When Patricia leaned in to check his vitals, the old man's hand shot up and grabbed her wrist. His eyes locked onto hers. Faded blue. The color of old denim. But burning with something desperate. "Please," he rasped. His voice was barely a breath. "Please don't send me home." Patricia froze. Because she'd heard those words before. Not often. Maybe 4 times in 18 years. And every single time, those words meant one thing. Someone was waiting at home who wanted to hurt him. She glanced toward the curtain. The man who'd followed the ambulance was just outside. Mid-40s. Expensive watch. Irritated expression. Pacing. Talking on his phone like this was an inconvenience. His nephew. Derek Crawford. The one who'd called 911. The one who was supposed to be taking care of him. Walter's grip tightened on Patricia's wrist. "He's going to kill me," the old man whispered. Tonight was the 3rd time he tried. His voice cracked. "Please, ma'am. I'm a Marine. I survived Chosin Reservoir. I can't." He couldn't finish. "I can't survive my own family." What Patricia didn't know yet was that in the next 47 minutes, she would make one phone call that would change everything. What she didn't know was that Derek Crawford owed $340,000 to men who broke kneecaps for a living. What she didn't know was that Walter's daughter, living 4,000 miles away in Germany, had been told her father died 4 months ago. She'd held a funeral, mourned him, buried his memory, while he was still alive. And what neither of them knew was that this night would end with 312 Harley-Davidsons surrounding a county hospital, a live FBI raid, and a reunion that would make grown men weep. But before any of that could happen, Patricia needed to understand who Walter Crawford really was. And why a decorated war hero was crawling through the snow in his bathrobe, begging strangers not to send him home. Walter Eugene Crawford was born in 1943 in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Coal mining town. His father worked the mines. His mother took in laundry. They had nothing. But they had each other. At 17, Walter lied about his age and joined the Marine Corps. By 19, he was freezing to death in North Korea. The Chosin Reservoir. December 1950. If you've never heard of it, let me paint you a picture without saying those words I'm not supposed to use. 17,000 American troops. Surrounded by 120,000 Chinese soldiers. Temperatures dropping to 35 degrees below zero. Men's feet froze inside their boots. Weapons jammed from the cold. Some soldiers died standing up because the ice wouldn't let them fall. And in the middle of that frozen hell, a 19-year-old kid from Pennsylvania did something extraordinary. Walter Crawford earned his first Purple Heart pulling 3 wounded Marines to safety while taking shrapnel to his left leg. He earned his second Purple Heart carrying his wounded lieutenant 2 miles through enemy territory after their position was overrun. 2 miles. Through snow. Through gunfire. With a leg full of metal. He earned a Bronze Star for refusing to leave anyone behind. By the time Walter came home in 1953, he had 2 Purple Hearts, a Bronze Star, and nightmares that would never fully leave him. But Walter Crawford didn't break. He married Dorothy and Miller in 1955. They had a daughter, Catherine, in 1960. He worked construction, then became a foreman, then started his own company. Built it from nothing. Crawford Construction put up half the buildings in Cambria County. When Walter retired in 2005, he sold that company for $2.1 million. Not rich by city standards, but comfortable. A farmhouse on 40 acres. Paid off. A pension. Social Security. VA benefits. About $6,200 a month coming in. Enough to live well. Enough to attract the wrong kind of attention. Dorothy died in March 2024. Cancer. Diagnosed in January. Gone by spring. 52 years of marriage. Ended in a hospital room while Walter held her hand and forgot how to breathe. His daughter Catherine begged him to move to Germany where she lived with her husband and 2 teenage sons. Walter refused. "This is my home," he told her. "Your mother is buried here. I'm not leaving." Catherine worried. Dad was 81. His legs still bothered him from the war. He needed help with groceries, medications, the daily tasks that pride made difficult. That's when Derek showed up. Derek Crawford. Walter's nephew. Son of Walter's late brother Frank. "I'll take care of him," Derek told Catherine on the phone. "Family takes care of family." Catherine was relieved. She shouldn't have been. Because Derek Crawford had 2 failed marriages, a string of failed businesses, and a gambling problem that had put him $340,000 in debt to very dangerous people. And he just found his way out. Before we go deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The first month, Derek was perfect. He cooked meals, drove Walter to his VA appointments, even fixed the broken step on the back porch that Dorothy had been asking about for years. Walter thought maybe grief had changed his nephew. Maybe losing so many family members had finally matured him. He was wrong. By month 2, Derek started managing Walter's finances. "Just to help," he said. "You shouldn't have to worry about bills, Uncle Walt." He convinced Walter to add him to the checking account, then the savings account, then the investment account. Walter was 81. His hands shook when he wrote. His eyesight wasn't what it used to be. Having help seemed reasonable. It was a trap. By month 3, the food started disappearing. Not all at once. Just the smaller portions. Skip meals. When Walter mentioned he was hungry, Derek would snap. "Groceries are expensive. You need to eat less anyway. Doctor said you should lose weight." Walter's doctor had said no such thing. By month 4, Derek stopped filling Walter's prescriptions. Heart medication, blood pressure medication, pain medication for the leg that still carried Korean War shrapnel. All of it was free through the V. Derek just stopped picking it up. "They changed the rules," Derek lied. "They don't cover those anymore. We'll figure something out." They never did. By month 5, Derek started selling things. First, Dorothy's jewelry. The engagement ring Walter had saved 3 months to buy in 1954. Her grandmother's pearls. The earrings he'd given her on their 25th anniversary. Gone. Then the furniture. The antique dresser from Walter's mother. The rocking chair Dorothy had used to rock Catherine to sleep 60 years ago. "Just clearing out clutter," Derek said. "You don't need all this old stuff." By month 6, Derek installed a lock on Walter's bedroom door. On the outside, Walter Eugene Crawford, decorated Korean War veteran, Bronze Star recipient, the man who once carried his wounded lieutenant 2 miles through enemy fire, was now a prisoner in his own home. The isolation was surgical. Derek told Catherine that Walter's memory was getting worse. That video calls confused him. That it was better if she just talked to Derek for updates. He told Walter's friends at the VFW that Walter had moved to an assisted living facility 3 counties away. He told the church that Walter was too sick for visitors. Everyone got a different story. But every story had the same ending. No one should try to see Walter Crawford. The local postman noticed the mail piling up. When he asked about it, Derek said Walter was in the hospital. A neighbor named Patricia Morrison saw Walter through a window once. Gaunt. Hollow. Like a ghost of himself. She called the sheriff's office. A deputy came out. Derek was charming. cooperative. Showed the deputy Walter's comfortable bedroom. Showed him the fully stocked kitchen. The deputy left satisfied. Walter watched him go through the window, too terrified to speak. Because Derek had made one thing very clear. If Walter talked, if he told anyone, Derek would make sure Catherine had an accident. Her and her husband. Her and her 2 sons. And Walter believed him. Because he'd seen the kind of men Derek owed money to. 2 of them had come to the house in October. Big men. Cold eyes. They wanted their $340,000. Derek had begged for more time. Promised them Walter's property would be sold by January. Which meant Walter needed to be dead by then. Or at least too far gone to stop it. December 14, 2024. Temperature outside, 18 degrees. Dropping to 4 by morning. Walter made his decision. That afternoon, he'd heard Derek on the phone in the kitchen. Laughing. Talking about some facility in Ohio, where Walter would be out of the way. He'd heard Derek brag about how easy it was to forge an old man's signature. He'd heard him say, "By New Year's, the property is mine." Walter lay in his locked bedroom and did the math. 2 weeks until the property sale closed. 2 weeks until Derek got everything. 2 weeks until Walter Crawford became a problem that needed to disappear. He had 2 choices. Wait to die in this house. Starved. Isolated. Erased from everyone who ever loved him. Or take his chances with the cold. The cold, at least, was an honest enemy. At 11:30 p.m., Derek passed out drunk in the living room. Walter could hear the snoring through the walls. The same sound every night. Derek drank himself unconscious by midnight without fail. Walter moved to the window. The lock was old. His hands were weak. 81 years of living had stolen most of his grip strength. But Marine Corps training never fully leaves you. He forced the window open. Cold air hit his face like a slap. He didn't care. He dropped 4 feet into the snow. His bad leg, the one that still carried shrapnel from Chosin Reservoir, screamed in protest. Pain shot up through his hip and into his spine. He didn't stop. He was wearing his robe and slippers. Nothing else. Derek had taken his clothes months ago. Said they were being washed. Never brought them back. Walter started walking. 3 miles to the main road. 3 miles through snow and darkness and the kind of cold that kills men half his age. By mile 1, his feet were numb. By mile 2, he couldn't feel his legs. By mile 3, he was crawling. His hands left bloody prints in the snow. His robe was soaked through. His body was shutting down. But he kept moving. Because Marines don't quit. At 2:15 a.m., a trucker named Samuel Reeves was heading south on Route 219. He saw something on the shoulder. Thought it was a deer at first. Then he saw the human shape. Samuel pulled over. Ran to the figure collapsed in the snow. He thought he was looking at a corpse. Until Walter opened his eyes. Hospital, Walter managed through frozen lips. Not home. Please. Hospital. Samuel made the call. 14 minutes later, an ambulance arrived. Derek was notified as next of kin. He followed the ambulance to Mercy General. And that's how Walter Eugene Crawford ended up in Patricia Holloway's emergency room, gripping her wrist, begging her not to send him back to die. Patricia Holloway had a decision to make. She could chart the injuries, admit him overnight, send him home in the morning. That's what procedure said. That's what was easy. Or she could listen to that voice in her gut, the one that had kept her alive through 18 years of emergency room chaos. She looked at Walter's face. Really looked. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't dementia. This was terror. Derek Crawford returned from his phone call, pushing through the curtain like he owned the place. "How much longer is this going to take?" he asked. "My uncle needs his rest. At home." He answered every question Patricia asked Walter. Positioned himself between the bed and the door. Explained the injuries as a confused episode. "He has dementia," Derek said. "Wanders off sometimes. Gets these ideas in his head." Patricia watched Walter's face while Derek talked. She saw the way his jaw tightened. The way his hands gripped the bed rails. The way his eyes begged her to see the truth. "We need to admit him overnight," Patricia said. Hospital protocol for hypothermia patients. His core temperature is still too low. Derek's expression shifted. Annoyance flickering to anger, then back to fake concern. That's really not necessary. He just needs rest. In his own bed. Doctor's orders, Patricia said. She wasn't backing down. You can wait in the family area. Down the hall. Derek stared at her for 3 long seconds. Then he smiled. The kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Fine. I'll be right outside. The moment he left, Patricia pulled the curtain tight and leaned down to Walter's ear. Mr. Crawford, I believe you. I'm going to help you. But I need you to tell me everything. Fast. Walter looked at her like she just performed a miracle. You believe me? I've been a nurse for 18 years. I know what abuse looks like. I know what fear looks like. Now talk. So Walter talked. 8 months of captivity. The financial takeover. The starvation. The medications stopped. Dorothy's things sold piece by piece. The threats against Catherine. He told her I was dead, Walter whispered. My daughter thinks I've been dead for 4 months. She had a funeral in Germany. For me. While I was locked in that room. Patricia's hands were shaking by the time he finished. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number she knew by heart. It rang twice. Patty? What's wrong? Raymond Holloway. Her brother. Her only family left after their parents passed. Vice President of the Pennsylvania Hells Angels, Johnstown chapter. Navy veteran. The one person she trusted when everything went sideways. Ray, I've got an 81-year-old Marine in my ER. Korean War vet. 2 Purple Hearts. His nephew has been starving him, stealing from him, keeping him prisoner for 8 months. Tonight the nephew tried to let him freeze to death. Ray, he begged me not to send him home. She heard her brother already moving. Keys jingling. Boots hitting floor. I'm 20 minutes out. Ray, there's more. The nephew owes money to organized crime. And Walter's daughter thinks he's been dead since August. Silence on the line. Then Raymond's voice, cold as winter steel. Don't let that veteran out of your sight. I'm calling the chapter. And I'm calling Rosie. The line went dead. What you're about to witness is what happens when 312 people decide that a stranger's suffering is their problem. If you believe in that kind of brotherhood, drop a comment with your state or country. Let's see how far Walter's story travels tonight. Raymond Holloway arrived at 3:38 a.m. He walked into the air like a force of nature. 6'2". Leather vest. Graying beard. Tattoos that told stories of service and sacrifice. The night security guard stepped forward. Took one look. Suspect. Some men you don't challenge. Raymond found Patricia in Bay 3. Walter was hooked to N4 now, fluids slowly bringing him back from the edge of hypothermia. The old Marine looked up. Saw the Hells Angels vest. For a moment, fear crossed his face. Then confusion. Then something else entirely. Navy? Walter asked, spotting the anchor tattoo on Raymond's forearm. For years, Raymond said. Destroyer. You. Marines. Korea. Raymond moved closer. Extended his hand with the kind of respect reserved for those who'd seen the worst and survived. It's an honor, Staff Sergeant. Walter's eyes went wide. How did you know my rank? My sister told me your story. And I did some checking while I rode here. Raymond pulled up a chair, sat at eye level. Not towering over. Not intimidating. Just present. Walter Crawford. Chosen Reservoir, 1950. Carried your wounded lieutenant 2 miles through enemy territory while taking fire. Bronze Star for Valor. 2 Purple Hearts. Raymond leaned forward. You're a legend, sir. And I'm here to tell you something you need to hear. You're not going back to that house. Not tonight. Not ever. Walter's hands started shaking. My nephew, he knows people. Dangerous people. He said if I talked, he'd hurt my daughter, my grandkids. Your daughter, Raymond interrupted gently, thinks you're dead. Walter went completely still. What? Derek told her you passed away in August. She had a funeral in Germany. A memorial service. She mourned you, sir. For 4 months, she's believed her father was gone. The sound that escaped Walter Crawford wasn't quite human. It was older than words. Deeper than grief. Catherine thinks I'm gone? Yes. But we're going to fix that. First, we make sure Derek can never hurt you or her again. Can you trust me to do that? Through the doorway, Patricia watched her brother, the man she'd seen fight, drink too much, make too many mistakes, speak to this elderly veteran with the tenderness of a son. That was the real Raymond. Under all that leather and chrome. That was the Real Brotherhood. The rumble started at 4:30 a.m. Low at first. Distant thunder. Then louder. First came the Johnstown chapter. 24 riders who'd been pulled from warm beds by 3 words. Marine needs help. Then Altoona rolled in. 31 more. Then Pittsburgh. 48 riders who'd made the trip in under an hour. By dawn, they'd come from 4 states. West Virginia, New York, Maryland. By 8 a.m., the Mercy General parking lot held 312 motorcycles. And in Bay 3, Walter Crawford was no longer alone. Among the 312 bikers was one unremarkable Toyota Camry. The driver was Rosa Del Vecchio. Everyone called her Rosie. 61 years old. Reading glasses. The bearing of someone who'd spent 30 years putting criminals behind bars. Retired FBI. Elder financial crimes specialist. Perfect conviction rate. By 7 a.m., Rosie had commandeered a hospital conference room and turned it into a war room. Raymond's tech contact had already pulled Derek's financial records. Rosie reviewed them with the precision of a surgeon. He's drowning, she said. $340,000 in debt to a Philadelphia lender. Interest at 18% monthly. These aren't bank loans. This is organized crime. She pulled up more documents on her laptop. Derek has systematically drained Walter's accounts. Investment account, $180,000, gone. Savings, $95,000, emptied. He sold property Dorothy inherited from her mother. Another $40,000. Patricia did the math. That's $315,000. And he's trying to sell Walter's farmhouse. Closing date is December 28th. 2 weeks away. Raymond's jaw tightened. So Walter needed to disappear before then. Exactly. If Walter shows up alive and competent, the sale falls apart. Derek doesn't get the money. And very bad people come collecting. Rosie pulled up another screen. But here's where Derek got creative. She turned the laptop so everyone could see. 3 months ago, Derek took out a life insurance policy on Walter. $500,000. Walter is the insured. Derek is the sole beneficiary. The room went cold. He was going to let him freeze to death tonight, Patricia said slowly. Collect the insurance. Sell the property. Walk away with $800,000. That was the plan, Rosie confirmed. If Walter had died on that highway, it would have looked like a confused old man wandering off. Tragic but not suspicious. By 9 a.m., Rosie had assembled an airtight case. Bank records showing systematic theft. Forged power of attorney documents. VA pharmacy records, no medications filled in 4 months. Patricia's medical documentation of Walter's injuries. The life insurance policy with Derek as beneficiary. FBI agent Marcus Whitfield was already en route from Pittsburgh with a team. But first, there was a call to make. In the conference room, Patricia set up a laptop for a video call. Stuttgart, Germany. 3 p.m. local time. Catherine Crawford Weber appeared on screen. She'd been crying before the call even connected. Because Patricia had already told her the impossible. Her father was alive. Dad. Walter's voice broke completely. Katie Bug. It's me. I'm here. They told me you died. Derek called me in August. Said you passed in your sleep. I flew back. We had a service. She couldn't finish. He lied, Walter managed. He lied about everything. He almost killed me tonight, Katie. But I got out. I got help. Catherine's grief transformed into rage. Crawford Steele. I'm on the next flight. Katie, you don't have to. Dad. Command voice. Just like her father. I thought I lost you. I am not losing you again. I'll be there tomorrow night. She paused. And Dad? I'm bringing a lawyer. In the next 3 minutes, you're going to watch a man who thought he was untouchable realize that 312 people decided otherwise. If you believe everyone deserves justice regardless of age or wealth, hit that subscribe button. And comment, Semper Fi, if you're with Walter. Derek Crawford was arrested at 10:47 a.m. in the Mercy General Hospital waiting room. He'd been sitting there for 8 hours. Getting angrier by the minute. Demanding to see his uncle. Threatening to call lawyers. Threatening to sue everyone in sight. He was absolutely certain he was in control. FBI agent Marcus Whitfield walked through the ER doors at 10:45. 2 Pennsylvania state troopers flanked him. They moved with purpose. No hesitation. Derek looked up from his phone. Saw the badges. Saw the intent in their eyes. His face went from red to white in 2 seconds. Derek Allen Crawford? Yeah. You're under arrest for elder abuse, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, forgery, fraud, attempted murder, and insurance fraud. Derek started to stand. Started to protest. This is insane. I take care of my uncle. Save it for your lawyer, Whitfield said. The cuffs clicked shut. And in that moment, Derek looked toward Bay 3. Through the gap in the curtains, he could see Walter. The old Marine was surrounded now. Nurses. Bikers. Rosie with her camera documenting injuries. Walter looked back. Their eyes met. And Walter Crawford, 81 years old, survivor of the Chosin Reservoir, survivor of 8 months as a prisoner in his own home, straightened his spine. Marine Corps bearing. Even in a hospital gown. Semper Fi, he said quietly. Clear enough for Derek to hear. You don't get to break us. Derek was led out in handcuffs. Through the ER. Past the nurse's station. Out the main entrance. Into the parking lot. Where 312 Harley-Davidsons waited in perfect formation. Derek saw them then. Row after row of chrome and leather. Men and women standing beside their bikes. No one shouting. No one threatening. Just watching. Silent witness to his walk of shame. The bikers stayed all day. Some brought food for the hospital staff. Some brought blankets for other patients. Most just stood guard. When news crews showed up, because 312 motorcycles attract attention, Raymond gave one statement. A Marine veteran was being abused by his family. The system missed it. We didn't. That's all you need to know. The story exploded online within hours. Hashtag #IStandWithWalter started trending by noon. GoFundMe campaigns raised $127,000 by the next morning. And at 6 p.m. the following day, Catherine Crawford Weber walked into Mercy General. She hadn't slept in 38 hours. She hadn't stopped crying since the video call. But when she saw her father, alive, awake, surrounded by strangers who'd become family, she fell to her knees beside his bed. Catherine Crawford Weber held her father like she'd never let go. I'm so sorry, Dad. I should have pushed harder to visit. I should have known something was wrong. You couldn't have known, Walter said into her hair. Derek made sure of that. This isn't your fault, Katie Bug. She pulled back. Looked at him. Really looked. He'd lost so much weight. His arms were covered in bruises. His face was hollow. But his eyes were alive. I'm taking you home with me, she said. To Germany. The boys need to meet their grandfather properly. You're spending Christmas with your family. Katie, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm telling. Crawford Steele. Just like her old man. Over the next 2 days, people kept arriving. Raymond had made calls. Found 4 surviving members of Walter's Korean War unit. James Donnelly rolled in from Ohio. 91 years old. Wheelchair. Oxygen tank. Still wearing his Marine Corps cap. Robert Park drove from Virginia. 89. Walking with a cane. Frank Rodriguez from Maryland. 90. Still standing straight. They gathered in Walter's room like a reunion 7 decades in the making. James reached out first. Took Walter's hand in both of his. Thought we lost you, Sergeant. Not yet, Lieutenant, Walter whispered back. Not yet. They didn't need many words. Men who'd survived Chosin together had already said everything that mattered. In blood. In brotherhood. On the 3rd night, Raymond came to Walter's room carrying something. A leather vest. But Hell's Angels insignia on the front. On the back, custom embroidered. Honorary member. Staff, Walter Crawford. Semper Fi. The Brotherhood voted, Raymond said. Unanimous. You're one of us now. Walter ran his fingers over the leather. The weight of it. The meaning. I don't know what to say. Say you'll wear it. Say when you're healed up, you'll come have coffee with us. Say you know you've got 312 people who will never let you disappear again. Walter's eyes filled. I'm honored. No, sir, Raymond said. We're honored. Walter's recovery was measured in small victories. Week 1, standing without help. Week 2, walking the hospital corridors. Week 3, gaining weight. Sleeping through the night. Week 4, strong enough to fly. On December 20th, 6 days before Christmas, Walter Crawford boarded a plane to Stuttgart with his daughter. He looked back at the farmhouse in his mind. The place he'd shared with Dorothy for 52 years. Then he looked at Catherine. Home isn't a building, he said. It's people who love you. That's right, Dad. Let's go home. Before we finish Walter's story, I want to ask you something. Has there been a time when someone should have made a phone call for you, but didn't? Or were you the one who made the call? Drop a comment below. Tell us your story. Because that's what this is really about. 6 months later, Derek Crawford stood before Judge Helen Westbrook. Prison had taken 30 pounds off him. Fear had taken the rest. Mr. Crawford, you systematically starved and abused your uncle, a decorated veteran who served this country with honor. You stole $315,000. You prevented him from receiving medical care. You told his daughter he was dead. You took out a life insurance policy and left him to freeze to death on a highway. She set down the papers. 12 years in federal prison. No eligibility for parole for 8 years. Restitution of $315,000. Derek's face crumbled. I don't have that kind of money. No, Judge Westbrook said coldly. Because you spent it all while your uncle starved. Court adjourned. The FBI investigation into Walter's case broke open something bigger. The men Derek owed money to weren't just loan sharks. They were part of a multi-state organization. Walter's escape led to 14 additional arrests, $4.2 million in seized assets, one of the largest elder crime busts in Pennsylvania history. One old Marine's refusal to die quietly had toppled an empire. Christmas 2024. Stuttgart, Germany. Walter Crawford sat at a table surrounded by family he'd almost never met. His grandsons, James, 16, and William, 14, hung on every word of his stories. Grandpa, what was it like when all those bikers showed up? Walter touched his dog tags. The ones he'd worn since 1950. Like reinforcements arriving just when you need them most. Like 300 brothers saying, "We've got your 6." He smiled. That's what brotherhood means. You don't leave anyone behind. Ever. This happened because one nurse refused to look away. Patricia Holloway could have followed procedure. Could have sent Walter home to die. Instead, she made one phone call. You don't need 312 motorcycles to save someone. You need one person who asks hard questions. One neighbor who trusts their instincts. One human being who says, "This is wrong, and I'm going to do something." Walter Crawford is alive because Patricia said those words. Who will you say them for? Subscribe to Kind Bikers. Share this story. Comment, I stand with Walter. Because somewhere, right now, someone needs you to make the call. This is Walter's story. But it could be anyone's. Make sure it has a better ending.